The small, windowless room in the Paris precinct buzzed with tension. The thief, whose name turned out to be Pascal, sat under harsh fluorescent lights, sweat beading on his brow, his bravado crumbling under Dorian's calm but unrelenting questions. "You had access. You had motive," Dorian said, arms crossed, voice steady. "But you didn't act alone, did you?" Pascal scoffed. "I told you I don't know their names." "They don't give names." "Then give us what you do know." The man hesitated, a long, jittery pause, then leaned forward. "There's a system. We get told which rooms are hot. Someone leaves notes under staff lockers with instructions when to enter and what to take." Luke, standing just behind Dorian, leaned in. "And who picks up the goods?" "Different people. No one twice." "But," Pascal looked around nervously, "it's not just hotel staff. These people, they're pros. It's like, I don't know, military or something. They don't talk. They don't ask questions." Dorian and Luke exchanged a look. Pascal added, "This job and with the necklace, I went rogue. They asked me to get their passports." The lights in the narrow police room buzzed faintly, casting sterile white over the creased lines of Pascal's face. He sat hunched at the table, twitchy and pale, the thin fabric of his uniform clinging to him like guilt. Across from him, Dorian Fox remained motionless, calm, collected, his sharp gaze weighing every flinch. Pascal wasn't a mastermind, that much was clear. Just a petty thief who'd gotten too greedy and strayed from the usual plan. But fear had carved deep into his features, and the more he spoke, the clearer it became. He had stumbled too close to something far bigger than himself. He hadn't seen the 6th floor himself, he insisted. He'd only heard whispers, muttered warnings between shifts, rumors exchanged behind storage racks and broken light fixtures. The 6th floor, they said, wasn't on any elevator panel. You had to take the narrow service stairs behind the linen closets on the 5th, and only certain staff were ever allowed up. Those who asked questions, or stepped beyond where they were told, never returned to work again. One former bellboy, a quiet, curious man named Paul, had once tried to peek behind the forbidden door. According to Pascal, the man collapsed hours later in the staff kitchen, clutching his chest. Heart attack, they'd said. But everyone knew the truth. Someone had silenced him. The floor, Pascal claimed, was haunted. But even as he spoke the word, his voice trembled in disbelief. It wasn't ghosts, not really. It was something worse. The air up there was cold, he'd heard, unnaturally cold, a chill that crawled into your bones. You didn't stay long. You didn't look around. And if your name ever ended up on one of his lists, the man behind it all, you vanished. He didn't know who was behind it all. None of them did. Orders were passed down anonymously. Instructions slipped under doors. Anonymous payments in staff lockers. The rules were simple. Don't ask questions. Take the job, deliver the goods, disappear into the shadows. Pascal had broken the rules. He'd stolen outside the chain of command. And now something had shifted. The shadowy machine behind the Hotel Diminuit had been disrupted. He knew that he was in a big trouble, and it was watching. Dorian asked Pascal one more thing. Laid 2 small evidence bags, each containing a folded silver triangle, identical in shape and worn edges. He tapped a finger against one of the bags. "You recognize these?" Pascal's breath caught. He stared at the triangles as if they might come alive and bite him. "You've already found 2, he whispered. Dorian didn't answer, his silence doing more than words. Pascal slumped back in his chair, the metal cuffs rattling. "They're not wrappers. They're signs. Codes." "Codes for what?" Dorian asked, voice low. "The first triangle left in a room. That means you're a target. High-value guest. The kind who won't notice something missing until they're back in another country. Easy. And the second? Pascal's gaze turned grim. That means someone in the operation thinks you're snooping, asking questions, looking into things you shouldn't. It's a signal to be more careful or start covering tracks. Dorian narrowed his eyes. So it works both ways, one to mark a guest, another to warn the staff. Pascal nodded. It's a quiet system. No words, no names. Just symbols. Because if anyone talks, they disappear. You don't want to be the third triangle. Dorian leaned back slowly, absorbing the weight of that last sentence. Pascal shifted, eyes flicking toward the door. If I were you, I'd tell your friends to stop digging. Those triangles mean they've already noticed you. And they don't like you. When the officers finally escorted Pascal away, he didn't look at Dorian. He just whispered as he passed, barely audible. Tell her to leave. That place eats people. Dorian stayed behind, silent. He didn't believe in ghosts. But he did believe in men who used fear as a mask, and monsters who worked behind elegant wallpaper and marble floors. Whatever was hidden on that 6th floor, he knew one thing. He would find it, and he would not let it swallow Vivian and June. Back at the hotel, the girls huddled in their twin sets. June flipped her notebook nervously. Vivi, for once, had ditched glam in favor of oversized sweats and a headband. Dorian returned, looking grim. He dropped into the armchair like the weight of Paris sat on his shoulders. He wasn't part of the original operation, he began. Just an opportunist. But his stunt may have blown open something much larger. A layered one. Pascal only knows there's a hierarchy. Anonymous, encrypted instructions, clean drops, high-value targets. Professional. June rubbed her temples. He said, he was supposed to take our passports? Dorian turned, nodding grimly. Yes. The jewelry was a bonus. But the main instruction, according to his confession, was to get the passports. Leave you stranded. Vivi's eyes widened. Why? Why would anyone care enough to steal passports from 2 tourists? Luke joined the circle. Because it's about control. Power. Whoever's behind this wants you scared, isolated, unable to leave. It's a lesson or a threat as we are digging their graves. June's voice dropped. You think it's someone we know? Not directly, Dorian said. But someone who watched you closely. Your social media, your hotel choice, your schedule. Vivi, they picked this hotel because you picked it. Vivi leaned forward. So someone out there was watching me? On social media. Likely. You're a perfect mark. Wealthy, traveling alone, or so it seemed, with public posts about your arrival. They never expected backup. Vivi swallowed hard, suddenly aware of the weight her online life carried. They gave me the generous amount of hotel discount. June said abruptly, Vivi. Vivi continued, so they thought I was easy prey. Rich and clueless. Well, June said dryly, they got the rich part right. Excuse you, Vivi muttered, half laughing. But true. Dorian stepped forward. Listen, this is more serious than we thought. The trap worked, yes, but it also triggered something bigger. Whoever gave those orders will know it failed, and they'll try to cover their tracks. His normally calm demeanor was tinged with urgency as he placed the 2 silver triangles on the table between them. These, he said, tapping one gently, aren't just trash or tokens. They're signals. June leaned forward, eyes wide with curiosity. Vivi stiffened, recognizing the familiar glint of foil. The first one, Dorian continued, means you're a target. Marked. Watched. The second, that's a warning. Someone's figured out you're asking questions. You're on their radar now. Vivi instinctively checked over her shoulder, unsettled. Dorian's voice lowered. I want you to leave. Go home. You've helped enough, more than enough. I'll stay. I'll get the earrings back, Vivi. I promise. Vivi looked down, torn, her jaw tight. But… No, Dorian said gently. This isn't about proving anything anymore. It's getting dangerous. Vivi gave a quiet sigh. We'll be careful. We'll stay out of the way. Just a couple more days, and then we go home. No matter what happens. June's hand moved across the table, resting on the edge of the silver triangles. Her mind was already buzzing with the puzzle. But that's exactly why we can't leave. We're this close. And I think I can learn from this. From you. Dorian studied their faces, Vivi's fierce determination and June's spark of obsession. He exhaled slowly. 2 days. After that, I want 2 of you on a flight home. Deal, the girls said in harmony. Vivi gave him a crooked smile. We didn't come this far just to go home empty-handed. June leaned in. Besides, Paris won't know what hit it. Dorian didn't smile. But somewhere in his gaze, there was a flicker of reluctant admiration. They weren't just tourists anymore. They were part of the story now. Luke nodded. And you 2 staying here? That's no longer safe. We don't know who's compromised. Could be front desk, kitchen, even management. June looked around, her face suddenly pale. So what do we do? Where do we go? You're coming with me, Luke said firmly. To my place. My apartment has space and it's outside city center. Anonymous. No one will think to look there. Vivi raised an eyebrow. You're inviting these mysterious women into your house? That's brave. Luke gave her a sideways smirk. You're not mysterious anymore. You're legendary. June glanced at Dorian. Is this really necessary? Yes, he said. And temporary. We regroup there. I dig deeper into who's pulling the strings. This was never just about some ghost stories. This is organized. Calculated. You don't want to be here when the hotel starts burning evidence. There was a beat of silence. June shuddered. So the whole ghost story was a cover-up? Well, Dorian said, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Thanks to Pascal's little freelancing, someone very high up in that operation is probably furious. The secrecy's cracked.